Hello, and welcome back to my channel. This is the last part of my stencil book, and I'm going to do the cover. I'm going to stencil the cover, and then I'll put it together, and we'll just kind of do a review of it. This is the design, the practice design I have for the cover, and I'm hoping that it works out because the cover is fabric, and if I mess this up, I will be really unhappy, and I will have to start all over again on another cover. So let's just get to it right away. This is the cover. It is, as you can see, it's fabric, and the inside has this wild and woolly paper that I like. And so this is where I'm going to, I stitched around it, but my stitching isn't always great. So the stitching on the back, that's why it's the back. So let me get started. I want to stencil this with as little drama as possible. So I'm going to mask off, I'm going to use this to mask off the center where I want to put the bee. So let me put a few more tapes down so this will stay in place. And I want to make this as interesting as possible. So once you kind of see where part of it is going, we'll just kind of speed it up a little bit so it doesn't go on forever. So as you can see, I'm starting out with these leaves, and I'll do one or two of these leaves with this stencil so you can kind of get an idea of how to holding the stencil down. And I'm going to want to highlight maybe a few different leaves, and I'll show you that. So we'll get on the way. So like I said, this is the mask, and I think for this I started this way. So I'll put that within view so I can see it. This is a flimsy stencil. I don't know how else to put it, but it's what I describe as flimsy, and I guess because it has so many cuts in it. So I'm going to tape it down and try to make sure that it doesn't wiggle or jump away from me, and doesn't give me a hard time, which sometimes they do. Okay, see this, the way this tends to come up like that, that makes this stencil a little bit of a bugger to do. But I like this design for what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to have to do my best to make it stay straight. I've got my paint over here in this sloppy little container. The rest of my paint I'll probably put over here, but I'm going to use this up first. This was what I used for my, for my practice that I showed you, just to make sure that the design would work. So these, I'm working with acrylics, and basically they do not go through, they do not, in other words, they don't make the fabric really wet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this lightly, very lightly, and then I will go back for the leaves that I want to kind of, if I want to make some a little darker or a little lighter. So just so it, it's a little, has little points of interest. And I'm going to do the bee, of course, last. after I'm sure I haven't in any way abused the stencil and killed it or something. All right, okay. We're just going to go on through here and see how it comes out. Let me see, maybe I can turn this around. You can see what I've got. Okay, kind of offload. Offload my stencil brush a little bit. And as you can see, there are different amounts of paint going on what's going on these leaves. Some of them are already a little darker, and some of them are a little lighter. And that's kind of what we want. Now let's lift this up a bit and take a peek. See what we've got under here. Not bad, not great. Okay, now let me see if I can highlight a little bit more. Where is my white? Brighten up things up just a bit. Okay. Okay. Let's see, maybe on the the tips of the leaves, maybe. Let's see. Okay. The closer they are to the circle, maybe. I just want you to see how I'm kind of making some of them a little lighter. Like I said, I'm sorry I chose this particular stencil, but this is what I chose, so this is what we've got. Let me see what I've got now. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. If you can see, and I'll hold it up a little bit so you can see the variations. Okay. All right, so I'm going to, let me see. I guess I like that. A little bit more maybe. And every once in a while, I have this spray bottle and I will spray my, my paint so it just kind of doesn't dry up on me. Alrighty. I think that will do. All right, so I'm just going to do that all around, and I'm not going to bore you by having you watch me just stencil, but you get the idea. As you can see, this is kind of variations in the color of the, or in the brightness of the leaves. Okay, so I'm going to finish doing these all the way around, and then I'll be back. All right, I've got all the leaves stenciled in, and as you can see, some of them stand out a little more than others, but the design of these leaves works well with this fabric because the fabric is kind of spotty anyway, so it has kind of a forest look, and I'm pretty pleased with that. So my next step is to make sure I have the bee lined up where I want him to be and not crooked, because we know I have done crooked. Okay, but today we're not going to do crooked. Okay, let's put him down, and I've traced where I want him to be, and I'm going to put the stencil of the bee right here, probably for other reasons too, but I'm going to tape the stencil down. Okay, let me see, let me be sure. Let me get this a little bigger so you can see it. All right. And move it up a little bit. I want to be sure that I have the bee lined up with the drawing or the tracing that I made. Okay. Now that he's lined up with that, it could be a little bit straighter. I'm going to tape the stencil down, and I'm going to tape it down as solidly as I can on one side. Thank God for painter's tape. Yes, I use it all the time. Okay, now that the stencil is taped down, the bee is where I want him. I'm going to lift this up and remove the circle, and the bee should be in just the right place. So now, just to be extra careful, I'm going to cover up the dragonfly, because if I get, a little sloppy, I can accidentally get a dragonfly wing in there somewhere too, and we don't want that. So we're going to cover it up. All right, I guess, yeah, I'll cover that up too, because you just never know. Something could happen, and I could just make a mess and be mad and have to do this all over again, and that wouldn't be good. Okay, all right. Now, I tell you what, I'm going to save this for later, because I might end up cutting out this wing so I can kind of make maybe a little shadow wing beside the bee. And if I decide to do that, we'll just kind of get to it, and we'll see how it works. So we're going to make his little yellow bottom, or the yellow stripes in his bottom. And since this green is kind of dark, I don't know what all is going to work, but we shall soon see. And if it doesn't work, we'll just have to do it again, as we have many other times. So, we are going to start with, let me see. Let's see, I need some black. Let me see if this black has survived. Yes, it has. So we'll see whether the black will show up enough on here. If it doesn't, then we'll have to move on to something else. We could make a psychedelic bee, those kind of bees that you see after you've had a night out, perhaps. A wild night out. But I don't know. We're going to try to keep him a little bit normal. Like a normal bee. Okay, let's see how that black came out. It's kind of dark. Well, maybe we'll just lighten it up a little bit. And he could be an elderly bee. Maybe he's just graying a little bit. Huh. Let's see what happens if we do this. Just kind of give him a little... Do we like that? I don't think so. But, maybe white's not a bad idea, since this green is so dark. And you know what? We get to change our minds if we want to. And I think we have just done that. So, let's brighten up this bee. The nice thing about the stenciling, we can just kind of do what we want, and maybe we can do a little shading along his body. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now that I've stenciled in the bee, I'm going to do a little detail on his wings and maybe a little cross hatching on his body, just a little bit to make him a little more interesting, and then maybe fill in a little bit of something around here. I haven't completely decided, but I have done one wing and I penciled it in so I kind of get his wings relatively straight. So I hope you can see that I'm hoping that the pen will last, because the pen doesn't really like drawing on acrylics. But I think this will just kind of add a little to the design. And I know the wings might not quite be as even as they could be, but I don't think the little bee is going to complain. Not out loud anyway. And I'm going to do a little cross hatching on his body, provided that my pen continues. There we go. There we go. You know, give him a little definition in there. Oh, gee, the pen is acting much better now. All right. And on his head. There we go. Just to kind of round him out a little bit. Maybe a little on his legs. I think the bees have little hairy legs anyway. So I'm just doing little lightweight crosshatch to give him just a little more definition. That's what I like about the stenciling, just gives me a nice start. And then I can just kind of add and you know, do as much as I feel I want to do. Do a little bit on his bum. Just kind of round him out all the way around. And yeah, I probably could have done this with the with stencils, but I don't know. I just decided to do it this way for this particular cover. Now, I might want to give a little more weight to the lines in his wings, but I'm not sure I have the right marker for that. Nah, that's a little too much, I think. So we will leave that as it is. Maybe a little bit, because this poor marker is not going to be very happy if I continue to do it with this. Okay. All right, well, it's giving me enough for one wing anyway, but just making the cover a little more casual, like the book itself. The book itself is just a pretty casual little book. It's got a lot of different things in it, and so okay. All right, little bee. I think you might be about done. Might have to put some kind of eyes or something on it. Okay, so let's look at our little bee, and I'm pretty happy with him, but I've got to decide what I want to put maybe around here, just something for interest. So let me decide on that, and I'll be right back. All right, I've decided that he might be comfortable with a little bit of hint of honeycomb around him. So I'm going to do this. So I'm putting my honeycomb stencil over the bee and over the circle that I have cut out to protect the rest of the leaves. And I'm just going to do a really light indication of a honeycomb. Very light. Try not to get any of the dark paint or the dark acrylic on the bee. If I do, I will have to redo some of it, but we'll just see how we like this. Maybe it will work out okay, maybe. Thank you, Lord, for overseeing this effort. He can always be thankful. Always find a way to say thank you, especially when sometimes things go really, really badly. Okay, all right, let's see what we've got. Alrighty. That's our cover. That's our cover. I'm pretty happy with that. Okie doke. It's already well established, my love for bees and my love for stencils. And so I've combined the two together to make this nice little journal. And now that I've gone through some of the stenciling with you, I just like for you to see how the whole thing came out, because I'm going to give it to a friend for her housewarming. And but before I do, I wanted to go through everything with you. And I have used basically 2 sheets of the 12 by 12 paper, because I wanted to have I don't know, I guess I wanted the opening of it to be very pretty. And I love the leaves and green, and so this is what I went with. All right, white page, plain page. I guess if someone wanted to write on these pages, they can, she can. Let me see, let me back this up just a little bit more. Oh, so you can see a little bit better. This is the first collage. I can't remember whether I talked about this one or not, but this one is just a Life is a Jungle collage with the little froggy, and I used the bricks that we did on our part 1. And this is a writing page if she chooses to write, or doodle, or put stickers, whatever she wants to do. That's the page for it on both sides. This is a page where I stenciled this bee, and I cut him out, tried to put him somewhere. He didn't really work there, but I really, really liked him, so I took a fine pen and went over it, and I was pretty pleased with that. And there's more space for writing here, if she chooses to. Writing space. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I went over this particular collage with you or not, but it's just a simple happy day collage. Life is beautiful. Plan your best life. I believe I got this from planners that I had purchased years ago. But I love Tim Holtz's little butterfly, and of course the stencil that goes with the leaves. Okay, this is the collage that I had the most trouble with, probably because I was working with it, you know, as I taped, and it's hard for me to think and tape and, you know, just, anyway, I went back over it. I had to keep working with it, and I darkened in some of the skin of the pineapple to pull it together a little bit, and I added 2 more hearts to go with this heart. I took out the tag that was here because I didn't think it was serving the collage well. So that tag is gone. But this tag, the plastic tag, of course, is still there. And I hope that to write things that have made you feel good, or made her feel good, or made her feel positive about herself in there. The magnets are here to hold it in place. And it'll just kind of click right into place so that when you open the book, the little plastic tag doesn't flop around all over the place. These pineapples were stenciled and they are along for the ride. This is just pretty paper along for the ride, which is got the fern stencils on here. This is writing paper. It's graph paper. I do love graph paper. And it's got some dye on it. More writing paper. This is the first collage I think that we worked on together with the happy little girl and the flowers and some Tim Holtz's ephemera. Do what you love. And if you love doing this kind of thing, go for it. Writing space. This is a little collage that I put writing space on. It's very simple. And you've got your two little kids and cherish your family, for they're your God-given treasure, wealth beyond measure. And this is a little sheet of paper, writing paper that goes on here. And so you just kind of stick it. There's more stuff she could cram in there if she wants to, because this pocket was made from a paper bag, so it can hold some more. This is the middle of the book, and I'm really pleased with how this came out. In the first part of our video and stencil session, I did the bicycle. Not this bicycle, I did this bicycle. And I decided to kind of repeat the stencil in pink so that it would just kind of be paper that you could write on. Stick it back in here, and you've still got a half pink bike and a half gray bike. And I just thought that this was a fun way to do the middle of this little journal. So this is also for writing, for putting little notes to yourself, you know, about special things that have happened to you. I think I got this at either Hobby Lobby or maybe a Joann's that was closing or moving. At any rate, the little bird comes from Dollar Store, and a lot of times I can't remember where I get these things from, but I do enjoy working with all of them. So we'll put this little note back. And the stencil on here is the same stencil that I used for the front. Writing space, writing space. Now, my dad was a math teacher. I was always just awful in math, and still kind of am. But at any rate, so I did this as kind of an ode to math. And I used this stencil, as you can see, for the numbers for the background. 3 little pearls from the Dollar Store, Tim Holtz ephemera, some stamps, and I cut this A out of an old math book. Since I didn't get too many A's in math, I thought, well, I'll just give myself an A in math. And so I did. Okie doke. Writing space. Here we have the spray dye of the fern. I think that was a stencil I made, and so I don't have it here. This is just more stenciling. Now, this is a little bit on the lumpy side because I don't have any art glitter glue, so my glue is just kind of lumpy, and I hate that, but it is what it is. Now, if you can get over the lumps and bumps carefully, this would make a nice writing page. So I hope that she will use it. This is my Bumblebee collage. This might be my favorite collage because, as you can see, I used the bumblebee and then I sprayed the honeycomb behind him before I put him down. And so I'm really pleased with how that particular collage came out. More writing space here and a tag here. And again, I used this stencil with the numbers. And let me say, this stencil is really, really very fragile. I'll show it to you. It's very hard to keep clean simply because if you're too rough with it, you will disturb the numbers, and you won't be able to use it. So I have to clean it off with a very soft brush, and as you can see, it still has some traces of paint on it. Okay, at any rate, this is a nice big old fat tag that I made. Well, sometimes I just make bunches of tags. And it has a magnet on the back for the same reason that the plastic one has a magnet on the back. I don't want it to go wagging around, when the book is open. And so that keeps that in place. And I'm pleased with this. I think it works well. And another writing paper, more writing paper. This is my last collage. And again, I used the number stencil, and I used numbers from, or paper from an old math book, some Tim Holtz ephemera, and Tim Holtz Little People. And I'm pretty pleased with the way this little collage came out. I like it. I can think of some things I might have done differently, but all in all, I'm pretty pleased with this little book, and I really hope my friend likes it. I'll have to cover that up or something. But here's my book. I'm done with it, and who knows, I might do another one simply because this one was so much fun. And I'll show you the stencils that I used. Or some of the stencils that I used anyway. But this is one of my favorites. This is the one of the ones I use a lot. Of course, the one for the middle. And this I use for the cover. I guess the main thing, and of course this, the main thing about stencils is they are delicate for the most part, and cleaning them can be a challenge sometimes, but they're so well worth it. So I hope you liked this little video, and all three of them really, and I hope you'll do some stenciling. I also hope that you'll subscribe and give me a like. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.